Yeah. Chris got in right.
Hey,
Hi, Chris.
Sliding in.
What up?
Well,
Hey, Chris.
explain yourself.
Hey, guys.
It was so funny. I saw the video and then I saw somebody in black and white, and I was like, "This is not how it's supposed to be." So, the whole crew is here. It is a romantic Valentine's Day weekend. So I brought some gentlemen on to bestill your beating hearts. The first closest to my heart, Will Allred. How are you, buddy?
Been all right, man. How are you? How about you?
It's been an okay week, and for the first time, we have a special guest host, Blake Morgan of the Blake's Buzz podcast. Thank you for joining us, buddy.
Buzz, babies. I'm in the house.
So Blake has watched this show and commented, and I just kept bugging him. Come on. And I have to say, I think it was Ignacio that finally made my invite palatable to Blake, because when I could say Ignacio is going to be on the show, Blake was finally like, yeah, I think I can make it this way.
Yeah. It's not just those two losers anymore. It's somebody I want to see.
Okay, to me, I expressed interest before.
Yes, that's true.
But the accent sealed the deal, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Always.
You're a beautiful looking and sounding man, sir. I couldn't say no.
But we have a packed house of creators. We have 3 amazing projects to talk about tonight. We brought up Ignacio. Gerald, you have been voted in the person to give the 30-second pitch about Breakneck Anthology. So why don't you start us off?
true. Hello, Internet. My name is Joe Von Carr. I'm the managing editor of Breakneck Fantasy Anthology, bringing 5 black and white sword and sorcery shorts to your eyeballs with muscles, murder, monsters, mayhem. I forgot another M. Oh, I keep forgetting. Madness. There's something else. I'm going to have to go check the page in. I said muscles.
Misogyny? No, don't do that.
No misogyny.
Okay.
And thankfully, I'm being joined by my co-editor and artist in the book, Ignacio DiMeglio, and one of the contributing writers and also head of Red Sea Comics, Chris Moses.
Well, welcome, everybody. Pat, I see that you are not muted in Jana, so I'm going to go to Pat for Prison Witch next.
Sure, yeah. Prison Witch is a graphic novel series that I co-write with my wife, Amy. We are have launched the 3rd and final volume on Kickstarter. It is about a woman who gets sent to prison, and there she meets a coven of witches who explains a dark truth about her life to her that sheds light on why she's in jail to begin with. It is like Orange is the New Black meets The Craft.
Nice.
That sounds cool.
All right, John, what is Drumsticks of Doom? And if I call it Drumsticks of Destiny at any point, I apologize. I've tripped over that twice. So Drumsticks of Doom.
Well, if you back it, you can call it whatever you want.
All right.
I'm John Westhoff. I'm the publisher, writer, letterer for Part-Time Comics, and our newest project is the Drumsticks of Doom, not Drumsticks of Destiny. Short pitches. Black Sabbath, not the Beatles, became the most popular band in the world, and the universe was changed musically and otherwise. And our main character, Lana, is just an indie rocker trying to make it in a heavy metal world.
Nice. Why don't we stick with Drumsticks of Doom for a sec and do our deep dive here? I noticed as I was putting this together, the anti-drummer is doing a book about drummers. What the hell are you doing to us, buddy?
So Anti-Drummer, the last band I was seriously in was Anti-Hero was the name of the band. So although there is also a Canadian band by the same name. But
so if I looked up anti-guitarist and anti-lead singer, this would all be your compadres from the past?
No, they never jumped on the Twitter trend. I was trying to, but
all right, I'm going to pull up the page, and you can start a deeper dive on how did you come up with the idea to even make this comic?
Well, the comic is really inspired by great, over-the-top rock metal bands like Manowar. And so, probably 7-8 years ago, I was just kind of sitting around thinking, what would a world like that look like to me? There's great interpretations of that, like, Chuck Beebe's Death Metal and Metalocalypse, the amazing cartoon. So I kind of sat on it for a while, kind of not really knowing what my in was to make a different world. And then, I kind of started thinking of the character and what is she doing? And, why is she not wanting to play metal in this heavy metal world? And that kind of helped me really expand the story. So it's really been something I've really been brewing for at least, 5 or so years now. And finally, I approached amazing artist Dan Doherty. You can see his art here. Unless you're on the podcast, please go to the page. And yeah, Dan is a musician. I was a failed musician, never really, went anywhere with it, but it was always kind of a part of my life. And I wanted to bring in an artist who kind of had that background as well, who could, understand and draw instruments. And Dan Doherty, he still is, a musician. He gigs out, every weekend or every other weekend, plays his own music. He's got some music in the campaign as well that we're adding, but I wanted to really bring in somebody who could really capture that. And obviously, I mean, you can see on the page, he just nails it. He and I worked on a anthology called Banthology, which was a music themed anthology about 10 years ago. And once I saw his first story, which was about someone never really making the fame they wanted to in music, it was called The Beast in Me. I just knew I had to work with Dan at some point. And again, I think those of us who've been in bands or who really love and enjoy music, it's a different part of you. So I wanted to really make a story that was, musically influenced. And I hope this fits the bill for people.
What does your work in music bring to the collaboration aspect of comics?
Well, I think particularly, I started playing drums because my band, when I was 15, I started playing bass, but we needed a drummer because we had 2 bass players. So I kind of picked up drums, and I think kind of taking that mindset has always made me someone who, is able to hold down the rhythm, so to speak, hold things together. Mm-hmm. I was never the best drummer in the world, but, I showed up to practice. I tried to do my best and, pull the songs together. I felt like I had a lot of input into writing the songs and the pace of the songs. And I think that carries over into, making comics as well. You got to be someone who's willing to do your part to make the whole a lot better.
No,
I got a question for you, John. So I've spent lots and lots of money on Maria Wolf covers, and you're just offering that as cover A. Are you like friends with Maria? Like, how did that happen? It's so good. Like that cover's phenomenal.
Well, sometimes, the stars align and you send someone a real sad sack email and say, please, ma'am, here's my project. It really needs an amazing cover. And sometimes they tell you they have time to do it. I didn't know Maria in any capacity other than, laughing at her posts on Facebook or stuff like that. But she is from the Chicagoland area. So, I don't know if that had an influence into it, but no, I had no connection with Maria. And I just gave her, a basic idea that I had for the cover. And of course, you see, she just nailed it. And of course, there was that impetus. Do I make it like a variant, like, charge, but I just felt like that had to be the standard cover. That was, she just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. If your lead artist isn't doing the cover that you need to be the cover on the Kickstarter, it can be nice to take the project image and the most beautiful image and just make that the one that everybody gets. But, it's also not bad business to take the most beautiful image and make it the rarest and therefore the highest moneymaker. So everybody gets to make that decision for themselves, which is pretty cool. How many issues would this be? Is this a one-shot, ongoing, limited?
Well, right now it's structured as a one-shot. We need to reach a much higher goal. I mean, you all understand how Kickstarter works. You have your goal, and then there's your real goal. And to be honest with you, working with artists the caliber of Maria Wolf and Kaylin Smith and Dan Doherty, my goal to fund another issue is much higher. So I think it can be a great one-shot story in this world, and then we'll see, down the road, maybe I get some publishing backing, maybe there's, a big response to it, but if we don't reach that secondary goal, it'll slow down the second issue. Right now, I have it, this one-shot kind of structure like that, be realistic. Indie comics, you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I think it's a 3-issue arc, and then I think there's 3 arcs outside of that. So 9 to 12 issues about is kind of what I'd like to see it pan out to be. But again, I'm an old man on the scene, so I've definitely gotten more realistic. Don't start with the 15 to 30 issue arc. Make each story contained and satisfying enough. So if you don't get around to it, or things get in the way, or you move on to other projects, you're still offering a good product.
That's
I have a
really good
question.
advice.
Working with an artist that is also a musician, how detailed do you go when you are writing the script? I mean, you tell him which model of guitar you want, which set of drums. Do you go really nitpicky, or you leave it to him to decide?
I appreciate that question, and again, that is part of why I brought Dan in, because I knew he would understand the lingo. Oddly enough, even though I played drums for 25 years now or something, I did not really get nitpicky about the drums. I didn't say it's got to have double kick drums. I just said a simple set, because she's going to sing and play in the scene or whatever. But for the guitars, I was very specific. I said, this is a heavy metal world. I need flying V's. I need BC Riches. I need Warlocks. And Dan was like, I get it. I know that what you're talking about. And, everything's got to be jagged and pointy, when you're heavy metal guy. So again, you see in the art, he nailed that part. I don't know why that was the thing I really stuck out to me.
Ignacio, you're an artist. What if you were doing a rock band? Would you want the writer to tell you the instruments, or would you want to make it up for yourself?
I mean, I have a little background in music. I was touring with some bands as stage manager for a while, so I could make some educated guesses. But I would like to, if the writer has a clear image of what he wants in mind, I would prefer the reference or them telling me.
Even outside the musical instruments, I'll put, if you want reference, I'll send it, and then add it afterwards. I don't always throw it in there unless it's something real specific that needs to be in there. But I try to leave it open for my artists.
Yeah, I've got a very important question in the comments. Who's the cute guy on the bottom right? I don't know when they wrote it, but to me, I think it's Will. But everybody's screen is probably different.
It was totally Chris, and then I wanted to make sure I moved some people around, and then I got down there. It was totally an accident. Yeah, sure, it was an accident.
Yeah, you know what? It's a Valentine's Day night. Everybody on this show is cute to me. So,
oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah. All right, so Drumsticks of Doom.
I have another question.
Please.
What's with the werewolf? The most important question.
I knew.
Again, with part of the universe is that all the things your aunts and uncles and parents told you, if you listen to too much heavy metal, it's kind of happened. So there's a lot of alchemy and witchcraft and other things. So, where does this wolf play in, and why is he after our main character? That's part of the story.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. The artist noticed the most important thing in the room. So let's go to the anthology. We've got so many creators from it. It's the Breakneck Anthology. This is black and white fantasy. Actually, before that, I noticed the page was black and white for Drumsticks of Doom. John, is it going to be a black and white comic? And what was the thought process of that? And that's a hint to the guys in the anthology. I might ask something very similar.
Well, initially, again, the story that really inspired me to work with Dan was black and white. Our music anthology was, 3 issues of all black and white comics. I feel like once I saw that, I can't really get Dan's art out of my head in black and white. He does an amazing series called Touching Evil, which is in full color and looks great. But I really wanted it to be black and white. He talked about bringing in a colorist, and once I saw his art, I said, Dan, I'm sorry, we I think coloring's off the table. Maybe down the road we do a collection that's in color, but his art just fits, and I feel like that fits in a this heavy metal slice of life story that we're trying to do. I really feel like it just works in that.
No, that totally makes sense. We have an answer. The cute guy migrated to the middle. Everyone else is decent. Decent. I'm going to say this. I'm 47 going on 48. I will fucking take decent.
Me too. That's
I thought that was going in a different direction. You're like, I will fuck you. I was like, whoa.
No, I will take decent. That's
Kevin's
fine.
getting rowdy.
Decent is great.
I have a note about black and white art because I used to not be a fan of it, and the last few months I've really gotten into manga, and I'm just spending more money than I already. I mean, you guys that follow me, like I get books, like I just have like a roving train of like mail all the time, and I've started getting manga, and I'm really appreciating the black and white art, and then like. I just read Blacksmith from Ahoy, and it was beautiful. I really dug the preview that I got for the Drumsticks of Destiny. That was a joke. I know it's Drumsticks of Doom, and then and we're gonna move to Breakneck, and like Breakneck is insanely gorgeous every page. Like, and I have this new appreciation of black and white comics, and I think I have manga to thank for that, but I'm starting to. The colorists are wildly important and do awesome stuff, but I don't know. Like black and white's it's kind of special. It has a different vibe, and I just dig it.
I grew up on the Tick and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles before they got color, and so to me, I always gravitate towards comedy as black and white. Like I can't conceive of doing a comedy comic that would have color. I want it to be black and white. But with the fantasy and there's texture, and Ignacio, I'm going to pull you in and ask you to kind of talk about it. When you know something's going to be black and white, does that change the way you attack the page?
Totally. Yeah. I usually define a lot with the colors. So when we decided that this was going to be black and white, I did it in a sense also to challenge myself to go back to my youth when I didn't have a computer and I colored with pencils or whatever, or I didn't color at all, and go back to that point and do the best black and white art I can do, because there's no color that can save you or that can you can use as a crutch, because sometimes you have your shortcuts. I don't have to do this because I'm gonna fix it with the color. This doesn't have that. This is absolutely there. Besides that, it was a challenge because Gerald did a script that involved a monster in the rain, smoking, and it's made of embers, but he made it a werewolf, so I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
I knew his weakness.
Yes, werewolves.
I've always kind of considered black and white to be a bit more punk. It seems like it's a bit more raw and more, I guess, more accessible, because of the, Kevin and I are kind of about the same age. So, seeing a lot of the indie stuff, from the late 80s, in the early 90s, that's kind of the vibe that that's my initial take on a lot of the black and white stuff. But, black and white can really be anything, right? I mean, you can do a lot with it.
What about you, Pat? Like, I know Destiny's all in black and white too, and it's real. It's real emotional, and it carries a different vibe than some of these other comics we're talking about. But and Prison Witch is black and white too, correct? Or are you coloring that?
No, that's black and white too. I am. Okay. I'm a big advocate for black and white. I feel like just like you said, a colorist plays an essential role in comics, but there's such a beautiful area where we can go and live in black and white and see it happen in ways that are, as diverse as you would see a colored page. There's black and white that has just the bare lines and still manages to be complete. There is, what I do is more black and white with grayscale shading. That is what I like to create. And I think that the idea of black and white as unfinished art that we see talked about in comics sometimes, that to me is wrong. I think that there is such a great a great place where black and white art lives in, both in comics history and comics present, in what I see as an increasing movement in indie comics.
Well said. I wonder, did you get us all together? Because we're all, is this a black and white revival?
Will and I always create a theme, and we want to see if everybody figures it out. And
Yeah.
the theme is we invite people we think are nice and have good projects on. And then when the show starts, we realize there's a theme and we go, holy shit, this is the black and white show. So the theme was, yes, holy shit, this is the black and white show. All of the art on every page is incredible, and it's perfect. I'm of the opinion that either one I'm fine with. If someone comes to me and says I've got a black and white comic, I'm no more or less likely to back it or buy it at a convention. I've had people tell me, well, you've got to color Under War as your comedy comic if you want it to be published. And I'm like, well, I guess I don't want it to be published because it's a comedy comic, so it's black and white. I don't, that's not my thing. But is anybody else? I mean, obviously, everyone here is publishing a black and white comic, so it doesn't bother you guys. Have you run into that prejudice when you've been pushing your books?
Sometimes, yeah, it's less from the reader and more from publishers, and not in that negative of a way even, but in when I'm selling Destiny New York or Prison Witch at a convention, sometimes a publisher will come and they'll be like, oh, I would love to publish this if you want to color it. And I'll be like, I don't though, I don't. It's as complete as it is. What I would do is after the whole run of my series are done, I would, just as like a bonus gift to fans down the road, I would love to do like a hardcover color reprint, but I just love the idea of starting something in a humble way and just finishing it in that unique way that you started from, just from jumping, keeping consistent. So publishers are definitely DM publishers especially are in the mindset of, it has to be color. But I think that we might be beginning to move away from that because Black Mask had no problem wanting to pick up Destiny New York and just keep it as is. And Image, their biggest indie book ever, is in black and white. So I'm thinking that we're going to be in a phase where hopefully we're going to be hearing less of that kind of stuff from publishers. That if it were colored, we would do it.
So basically,
every colorist is just watching the show weeping. They're like, no,
not at all. I mean, like Dave Stewart is the unsung hero of comics. I will never. I have plenty of comics in color, but I do think, like he said, there is a home for it when it fits. There'll be plenty of work for the colorists.
So I made the joke Pat Shand will bone it, but that's what Matt has done. He finished all of Bone in black and white. It's the greatest. It's on my Mount Rushmore comics, and they've gone back through when it was done and colored it so they can sell it, to younger kids who are less likely to grab the black and white. And it is beautiful, but I am definitely a traditionalist on Bone. I like that black and white because that's the way it started for me.
Well, and he still keeps publishing in black and white first because Two Keys in black and white and Razzle is in black and white.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have to agree with Ignacio. I think a black and white book, I think it shows that an artist actually has more control because there's not going to be color to separate the foreground, the middle ground, and the background. There's not going to be that extra stuff there to help with the storytelling. It has to all be there. It's just the black and white line. So it's kind of harder to do, and those that can pull it off, that's mad skills and mad props to all of them.
Yeah, so speaking of mad skills, Chris had a great experience with a mad skills artist that came to save the day in his story, his script.
Right. Let's hear that, and then Gerald, please, after that story, let us know how you brought your dream team together.
Absolutely, Chris, go.
Yeah, well, so I had another artist on my short when I freeze hell over that had some complications going on when we decided to put it all together. And but I'm always looking for artists and I'm always scouting. So I had found Marco Del Forno and sent him a message, and he's amazing. He does a lot of work for me now. Like, we're working on a card game together. and he's doing amazing art for that. But yeah, he showed up, was like, all right, let's get this done, and did it in like a couple weeks in insane breakneck speed, actually.
Hey, there you go. That's on point.
Yeah, and it was an amazing. It was really awesome, actually, and we really clicked. We really vibe with. He likes how I write. I love his character designs, and we both sort of vibe with the different types of content that we like. And just talking about this discourse about black and white, I grew up a lot on the sequential art of manga. So like black and white is like, as Blake is saying, like that's all you really get. So like it's never seen as like a quality thing to me, because especially with manga, it's mostly about getting the story out like weekly. It doesn't really matter as much like what. I mean, it looks great, but you don't really need that color to deliver a product that people really connect with. It's really more about the story and how the artist and generally in manga, they're the same person, the artist and the writer, and how they are, telling that story through the medium. But yeah, so Marco is amazing, and he's insane, and we came up with this really awesome short, and I'll let Jared keep going about this dope anthology.
Cool. So yeah, Breakneck Fantasy Anthology was born out of two things. The first one was wanting to recreate the awesomeness of things like Savage Sword of Conan. I collect Conan books now. I have a stack of something like 75 Savage Swords in boxes that I'm slowly going back and reading through again. But the other thing was creating a space that would help new creators find those first publishing credits. It is very hard for a brand new creator, even one who is paying attention and doing all their research and doing their due diligence and acting professional with other people, to find those places to partner for small projects. So my goal was both on a selfish front of I've published little things here and there, not in comics. And so my first goal was convince Ignacio to finally draw and finish something for something that will be published, because we worked.
That was the easy part.
That was the easy part, because I put werewolf in the first like couple panels, and he was like, "I'm in. I don't care what else it is." But it was reaching. I spent a lot of time the subreddit comic book collabs. And there's lots of people there who want to create, who want to form these partnerships, but they think, I have to make my series, I have to make my world, I have to make my big thing to enter comics. And through all my research, through all my trying through years, it's no, like you can do that. There's people who make that happen, but you don't know what you don't know. The first thing you make will likely be the worst thing you make, because you're not practiced. You don't have the muscles yet. You need to know how to finish something before you can start something bigger.
Absolutely.
So my love of Savage Sword, but also this idea of get a space for creators to be able to something and see it published. Kind of that black and white mentality, because we're keeping costs as low as possible. Mm-hmm. As a writer, one of the things when I went from prose to comics was I don't know what the end goal is on all these scripts I'm writing, because I don't have thousands of dollars to pour out to get an artist to show me what my script looks like. So six pages is what we set it at. Inside the anthology is 6 pages.
So you're telling me I could get thousands of dollars instead of doing this for free?
Oh, he said he didn't have thousands.
I don't have thousands. If I had thousands of dollars, Ignacio, we already have a D&D inspired miniseries going.
But that's
just how it is.
I mean, that's great to hear you say. I started very similarly. I was part of a message board, because I'm old, for the 11 O'Clock Comics podcast, and they kept saying we've been trying to get anthologies off the ground, and I said, you know what? I know nothing about this. I barely know how to use Photoshop. I said I'm going to do it, and some of the artists still come up to me this day. Oh, that was the only time I've ever seen myself in print, and thank you so much. We actually did 3 volumes. And then I went on to Banthology. It's such a satisfying experience to really help people I wanted to see my stuff out there too, but I spent the first 10 years of my career really trying to create spaces, for my friends and people I would meet that didn't really have a home and wanted to tell, reasonable stories. I couldn't publish their, long runs. It just doesn't happen. But that's so cool to hear you say that, because it is such a satisfying experience. And some of my best, friends were made through that process. Even one creator, he works on Star Wars, Nick Brokenshire. We're working together soon. I published his first work ever in print, and I didn't even know at the time. And then now, 10 years later, he's working on books like Star Wars and Star Wars Adventures, and it's like that is very satisfying for me. And we're still in contact, and it's just you can't replicate that experience any other way than helping people.
Did you guys take submissions, or did you reach out? Did you reach out to people?
I specifically reached out to including Chris. Chris and I have been talking about Connor probably almost as long as Ignacio and I, about a year and a half, maybe going on 2 years now. So I specifically to him, I reached out. I reached a few other people, at least to let them know I was issuing submissions, and then I opened them up on Comic Book Collabs and Twitter, and I just pushed it out there. And I got super lucky in that I had introduced Jin a couple times about some D&D stuff. So I kind of messaged him and was just like, anthology, you got anything in it? He was very kind in how he said no. I shot my shot and got turned down, but my professionalism and my the way I was talking about the project and being very upfront and earnest about the truths behind everything impressed him enough that he gave us a shout out when our submissions process was live, and that got way more bandwidth than any of the stuff I was doing. And then after that, I was like, well, if I got Jim Sub to do that and he helps out with comic school stuff and that kind of thing, what if I just see if Gail Simone will retweet us? And so I sent a message to her, and she retweeted one of our submissions posts. So that was great. Less bandwidth than Jim Sub. I got to put it out there. More odds up than Gail Simone.
Well, yeah, and it's very interesting. It's a huge audience that is there for Gail's extraordinarily fun, entertaining. Like, she makes my Twitter day. But Jim Zub is on Twitter talking process, and people were really interested in making indie comics, whereas Gail Simone's, is a big 2 writer, and I bet you she could get more bandwidth for John's Star Wars artist than an indie, and vice versa with Jim Zub. So yes, a smaller audience that is more dedicated to what you're doing may end up paying off a lot better than an enormous audience that is there for a different reason. But it's still it never hurts.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No. When we opened the submissions, we didn't know what we were in for, because we got a ton of submissions. And after, it's crazy because sometimes you don't think about this stuff, but we did the anthology. We have enough material for issue 2 already. And then I start promoting the Kickstarter, and I contact one person that I worked with in the past. That's Jeff Marriott. Jeff Marriott was the vice president of Image at some point, and we did a small project together, and we have a cordial relationship, and he's really supportive of me. And I sent him the anthology link, and he told me, hey, how come I'm not in this anthology? I wrote official Conan books. I want in. And I say, okay, you're in. Next time, you're in. What can I say? I mean, you can argue with.
You're promising spots to people?
Dude, he wrote Conan officially. Official
Hey.
Conan novels, dude.
It sounds like a good person to give a yes to. I agree with that. No, we will circle back if we have time, but I want to make sure that we get to Prison, which before I get a little tired. So Pat, I'm going to pull up the page, and if you could talk about Prison Witch. I know that this is the third, and you say final volume. Is this final, or is this comic book final?
Oh no, it's final.
Okay.
I like a good definitive end, a hard out. And I mean, we would do like a spin-off of one of the characters or a prequel, but this is the end of the series for sure. And that actually too, I think has brought in some more readers because we did volume 1 and volume 2, and volume 2 didn't see us grow the way that the next volumes of Destiny New York did. So we thought it would be good to, finish off, but we still had a pretty strong readership. But then this has been kind of taken off in a way that I didn't expect. So yeah, this is you're seeing the art by Erica D'Urso that kind of recaps the first 2 volumes. She did volumes 1 and 2, and then she did a series called Infernal Girl Red at Image. And now she's back. She's doing a framing story for us that is a flash forward of the characters who do make it out after prison, and sort of details their life during that time. And we're joined in the main story by Carola Borelli, who's taking over the main timeline duties. And she is an artist on Destiny New York, on Vampire Emmy and the Garbage Girl. I've worked with her through the years, and she's done a great job both bringing her own style and continuing the aesthetic of Prison Witch, which is a sort of it's the grayscale art, but it's a touch grittier while also being more whimsical than Destiny New York.
Okay. Now I missed the first 2 volumes, and I saw this. I was extraordinarily happy to see that I could get all 3 for only $55. That is a very enticing price point, because you do your volumes are kind of Charlie Stickney volumes. How many pages is each volume?
This is one of our shorter series. So we do volume 1 is around, I think, 70, volume 2 probably 65 or so, 64, and volume 3 is going to be about 80. So
almost 200 pages for $55. That's a pretty darn good deal.
Yeah, and Pat, I remember I think on your later update, or maybe your newsletter, you mentioned having Jen St. Ange doing, and there it is, Jen's Gems.
There we go. Yeah, that is Jen's Gems is a program that my company Space Between Entertainment is doing all through the year. We're going to do 6 of them, where Jen St. Ange is going to do a variant cover for every single book that I kickstart this year. It's starting here on Prison Witch Volume 3. And we price the variants very, very close to the main standard price, because we want everyone who wants one to be able to afford one easily. And we're doing 6 of those. I'm very excited because she is one of the top artists in comics. We worked with her both on interiors and covers in the past, and she has such a knack for her own specific style, while also just beautifully bringing to life the characters in a way that honors the artists who created them.
I'm still mad, sad, heartbroken that I didn't get her variant for Smoke Weed, See the Future. Like I kept thinking about it, and I didn't get it. Anyway, she's been a phenomenal artist.
I'll tell you this: if you want, I'll hold one to you, because that's the one book where that cover did so well. We're ordering so many more of the variant than the standard cover, so I will hold one for you.
Nice. Well, if you're in the Holden mood, I missed her Thirsty cover, so
for sure.
We'll talk.
for sure.
In the private chat, Pat's going to make an extra $180 for the campaign tonight, which is beautiful. So Pat,
bring it on.
I noticed that you and your wife Amy are co-writers on this. Yeah. How do you put the story together with her? Who wears what hats in the writing of this?
What we do with this, Prison Witch is a bit different in that it started out through conversation and really developed in text. when we were creating the characters, I would be like, text me an idea for a character today, and she texted me the idea for our Rizzo character, who is a green witch who runs the coven, and I texted her back the idea for Cat Lady, who is in prison because she was, upset that the kill shelter that was opening up by her was not a no kill shelter. That they actually euthanized cats, so she did what any good person would do and went down there and shut the place up. So she's in prison for that. And so yeah, we would each introduce characters who had either, a good reason to not be in society or an unfair reason, and explore that, that way. And we did that through text. And then what we started to do was we would, once we had the idea for a chapter, I would go on the computer and break it down into pages and say what happens on each page. I would then give that to Amy to add the dialogue that she would want on that page, about half of the dialogue. Then I would go on and take her physically written notes and type that up and add my dialogue, and just kind of go all over it to make sure that it all gels together. And then when the letters come in, we go through them together and we fine tune here and there. And that's actually how we did both this and Thursday.
Wow.
Cool.
I have a question for Pat.
Yeah.
Given the number of Kickstarters you have run, and the situation that happened this time, that this is your first, if I'm not mistaken, this is your first Kickstarter in fund in 24 hours, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So given the amount of knowledge you have about the inner workings of the platform, what is it that you think did it this time?
I think, it's always such a convergence of things that it could be, I think that number 2 went kind of unnoticed because I was already running a series and people were adjusting to the idea of me doing Destiny New York as an ongoing, every year volume. So the idea of following 2 series that had a similar magic theme from me on Kickstarter might have not been, back in the earlier days of my campaigns, too interesting for people. But now that they've seen how different Prison Witch ended up developing, I think that maybe people who read 1 are going to give 3 a try again. But I also strongly think that the idea that it's the end, that it's the finale, people like, especially now, the idea of binging things. I can't tell you how many people I know who will buy single issues and not trade weight, and realize by the time that the trade comes out, they already have all the single issues and they haven't read any of them because they prefer to binge anyway. So the idea that people could go on and get the entire 3-volume series and binge from start to finish and have a complete arc, that definitely, I think, appeals to people. So the finale idea being in there is big. I think the Jen St. Ange part of it might be a big draw. And finally, too, Thirsty, my campaign that I did last December, was my biggest one. And Kickstarter, I always praised it for its update system, in that it essentially creates, through each campaign, a mailing list for you where everyone who's on that list is someone who provably wants to spend money on your work. Mm-hmm. So the fact that Thirsty really pushed the campaigns that came afterward, I think is proof that the more you invest in Kickstarter and the longer you spend and the more campaigns that you bring to it, the better chance that you're going to have to keep doing better every time, as long as you follow through to backers. It's important that you treat backers as you would want to be treated by any business.
Yeah, I was about to interject that you have a proven track record of delivering on what you tell people you're going to deliver. So 1 time, 2 times, that's something, but 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a row, I'm getting the books from this person. And I personally don't ever know if anybody's on time, but I know when I haven't gotten something.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I think that too, even because everything going on right now is crazy as far as port delays. My Vampire Emmy, I was told by the printer that I would receive it in November, and it was here in the country in November on a boat, and then it was off the boat in January. So that is the thing that I couldn't predict. But I make it a point to, no matter what's happening with the campaign, to have something to say in an update every single month, and to never let a month's time pass by without me having checked in with a campaign that's still active, and just letting people know that even though I might not be able to like sneak onto a boat and like get the books, that I am thinking about it. And as soon as those books are off that boat, I'm ready to go. And I'll check in with the printer and have little updates here and there, So yeah, I think it's important to, even if something prevents you from really following through, to say, I'm going to follow through still. This is the situation, but no, I'm going to follow through.
Yeah, I think every writer on this panel just looked at Ignacio and thought, I wonder if he'll draw a comic book guy sneaking onto a boat to get his Kickstarter books thriller.
That's exactly what I thought. Yep.
I immediately thought about it, so I'm game.
Hey, we're gonna go till 12, and at 12:01 we're gonna turn this into a tag team. Wait, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 writers. It's going to be a 7-page mini.
We were talking with Gerald about doing an experiment for a future issue of the anthology, but it got crazy. But it involved different creative teams working on the same story. So this is sort of that way too.
That's a nice 5th year anniversary Kickstarter, the experiment.
Yeah, of course.
I gave an idea, and then Ignacio went, okay, but what about all of this? It's nice for you, where you'll draw 3 pages and then I'll manage 800 people.
Well, here's a quick question for you guys. Who's going to be doing fulfillment on these? I mean, Pat, obviously, you're the man, and we know you do fulfillment. But on these other 2 campaigns, who's handling fulfillment?
Ignacio just washed his hands. You know what? But I'm going to say this: 98% of the creators that fulfill are the writers. The only artist I know of that fulfills this campaign is Ryan Kroboth, and I'm sure there are others, but he's the one I can name. But I think that that's fair, because the hours of labor on a 22-page comic for a writer and the hours of labor on the same comic for an artist are not even close to the same amount, even if you're a writer that goes through drafts after drafts after drafts. So I don't mind being the person fulfilling, because that's my hours on the project. That's personally me. If I had a writer, an artist who wanted to fulfill, I would let them. But Ignacio, I think you're fair to wash your hands of this based on the
I mean, that being said, I would totally do it if we were in the same pole, basically, because I'm in Argentina, I'm in the South Pole, Cheryl is in Canada. But if we were in the same city, I would totally be there.
I mean, Fort Lauderdale's kind of in the middle, guys. You can meet down here.
People
I gotta guess better.
Inviting us to Florida, man.
You know what? Why don't we wait until the big C's gone? Because Florida doesn't really do a very good job of protecting anyone. So I don't want to send anything back to Argentina or Canada.
Well, yeah, you see my latest book is right back here, getting ready for fulfillment. So, like Kevin said, I think that's a reasonable division of labor, but I also do enjoy doing it. I enjoy having the books here and packaging them up, remembering who backed, having all the little tchotchkes that you get to put in there. I don't actually mind the process.
That's a good point. Like those names that all of a sudden become friends of yours that you've never met, you've never talked to, but the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th time you're seeing the name, you're like, oh yeah, without Carlo, this wouldn't be a Kickstarter. So thank you, Carlo. And if he's listening, I am specifically saying you, Carlo, in Canada. But Danny Morales, who runs the collective just outside of Orlando, says you guys can meet there. And if you guys meet in Orlando, I will try to drive up and be there. So.
Well, you were talking about little tchotchkes and thing, and Kevin brought up Brian Kroboth, who's an awesome artist and a pretty good friend. He always puts in these little ninjas. So he's got a whole big bag of them, and they protect the art and the comics or whatever during their trip to you, who has backed his sketchbook or his Sunmaker book or whatever. It's really cool. I look forward to getting the little ninjas now. It's one of those cool things that we get as Kickstarter backers.
Yeah.
Speaking of little ninjas, I got a bone to pick with Chris.
With me?
I cannot wait to find out where the fuck this is going.
Yeah, me neither.
So I interviewed Chris a while back, and he
Right.
was talking about how excited he was about Breakneck Anthology, and I'm super impressed with Chris's sci-fi. He's very good at sci-fi, and he's also
Thank you.
really good at fantasy. And I just don't think it's very fair that you can just excel in all these genres and tell these really badass stories. And anyway, I just Ignacio sent me the issue, and it's just, I love it, and I want everybody listening to know that it's like well worth your money and it's beautiful. But Chris, I really dug your story and the hell freezes over motif. And we talked about some of the other stuff, but no one mentioned your bit, and I really dug it. And you said that artist knocked it out in like a
Couple weeks.
Yeah.
2-3 weeks.
Chris-
It was insane.
Chris went from the least finished short to done, and everyone else still needed pages.
Yeah, we went crazy on it, and thanks, Blake. I appreciate that. I mean, I just like to tell crazy stories. I like have a vision of like what I want to see, what I want to read, and it's not always delivered in mainstream stuff, and so that's why I love comics. I can do my own vision. I don't have any gatekeepers on how I'm supposed to tell whatever story I want to tell. It looks exactly how I want it to look. And yeah, I mean, that's just what I want to do. When I freeze hell over is like my love for manga, because when I heard black and white and I heard fantasy, I was like, okay, well, to me, that's what black and white is. As I said, that's what I sort of grew up on. And so, and Marco, I think with a lot of the younger generation of, comic creators, manga is a huge, heavy influence on all of us. It's just as it was for a lot of creators in like the 90s and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, we threw it together, and it was a fun story to make. It's always fun to have a character that hopefully people can relate to, and hopefully we'll be able to see more of it in future Breakneck Anthology issues. I think Gerald and I have already talked about returning potentially for issue 3. And so that'd be pretty awesome. And we'll hopefully see where Sickly and Kimmy end up.
That's very
Chris,
cool.
Can I ask, do you attack a fantasy story and a sci-fi story in the same manner or different? And if it's different, what is the difference?
I think I attack every story that I do sort of similarly. I also write noir stuff. I have a noir story following a contact tracer in a world where people are anthropomorphized microbes called Soma City. So think Black Sad meets Osmosis Jones. And these are all books that Jared is an editor on. He edits almost all my books, him and Peter Hambusi. So yeah, I mean, I approach all of them around basically the same. I like to get, the sort of watch the things or read the things in the genre that I think relate to what I want to say. And then, I find an artist that I vibe with, I create a story Bible, and then we're off to the races, and so yeah, the process isn't too different. It's just mostly just trying to get into it and then having something to say and something cool to show, because it's always important to remember of how visual comics are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also important to remember that like comic artists want to tell fucking dope stuff. They don't want to tell like anything that's lame. They want to tell stuff that's like really fun to draw, because as we've said, like you're going to be spending hours and hours and days on this project. And if they have to draw one more talking heads scene, or they have to draw so like just character walking down hall one more time, they're gonna blow their brains out. So like it's always fun to remember that we have to like make it exciting, make it interesting for everyone, not just to like read, but also to create. You know, when the colorist comes on, they want to have fun and be like, okay, how can we make this really exciting? If it's just like, you know, indoor lighting in an office, it's probably going to be a little boring for them too. So I just try to make it fun and have fun with it, since that's what the whole medium's about.
Is there a writer trick on the panel for making quote unquote boring scenes interesting for your artist?
Action, definitely. Action. Like having them doing something and not just like talking back and forth to each other.
Well, how many writers here have seen Wally Wood's 22 panels that always work?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now I'm like, I don't know what's going to go on here. Let's do that one. You know, sometimes, you know.
That always works.
So what I noticed with reading Breakneck is a lot of these, a lot of your shorts, they all end well, right? Like they have a nice ending and a nice arc, but it seems like a lot of them you could go more. And obviously, like the campaign's doing well. It's, you know, like, and people are interested in it. So I'm saying, you guys have already mentioned that you were going to have multiple volumes, hopefully, you know, if all things go right. Are you? I mean, are you planning on having people back on to like extend these stories, and or is it on that note, would you rather bring in new teams? Because that's got to be like a decision to balance too, like, because you want to, like you mentioned, this is like a platform to help new creatives. So
I'll just take one moment to do mic check. Do I sound okay now that I've swapped headphones? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on a tablet. I'm not at my usual computer station with the background and everything.
No, it's fine. The problem is that Will and I are technophobes, so we can't do anything. We just sit here and go. I hope that is okay.
Okay. So the intention is that Ignacio and I, unless Ignacio gets super busy when he gets booked for some big new project, we are going to have a recurring set of characters with the Crypt Sisters. It'll be a new short story every time. It may be a loose storyline between them as they progress, kind of thing. But those will be the only characters we see every issue. We're planning to. I know Chris wants to do more with When I Freeze Hell Over, so we'll probably, if he's interested, unless he wants to bring it somewhere else, probably issue 3. We'll see the next step in that. But most of these stories are stories to be one shots. We wanted that kind of Future Shock sort of get in, get out, tell the story. I know Elizabeth Mahade's her story Tale of Zeron, she has done a whole bunch of background work. I think she's probably got a much bigger story about Prince Zeron that she's got sitting somewhere developing. So I'm excited to see her work more with that. She hasn't mentioned wanting to do more with Zeron, but she's a solo creator who brought me in a pretty much complete finished story, and it is amazing. Like I've said it before, she should just get hired by Wizards of the Coast to do D&D comics, and I'm sure everyone will be happy with what she produced because she is awesome.
Well, I put up a banner. I'm gonna sneak one of the projects that we're gonna talk about later up in the show. Thoughtscape Comics. Matt Mayer Lowry is the writer, and it's sort of his own anthology world, and it's on zoop.gg/c/Thoughtscape Comics. His is an anthology. It's in the 5th dimension. The 5th dimension is where all thoughts ever conceived are recorded. And he has kind of a framing sequence where people are going in to get the thoughts and bring them out. And then he's got short stories that may or may not have anything to do with that. So those characters are in both volumes of Thoughtscape. And there's another short that you learn a lot about in volume 1. And in the second volume, they use the same characters, and I will not spoil it because it's too incredible of a piece. But reading volume 1 and then reading volume 2, the story made me cry, made me think, made me get philosophical, and then made me angry, all in about a 5-page span, because I had read the volume before and he came back to these characters. So I think it's a great idea to, at least with one of your short stories, give people something to come back to in that way. I think that's a fabulous idea. And I brought up Thoughtscape because I literally have seen it work on a project that's currently live. So I think it's a great idea.
I'm feeling all those emotions right now because Matt didn't let me read volume 2.
Oh.
Like I am sad and angry and anxious. Listen,
I did not know I was throwing you under the bus. I did not know that, Matt.
You didn't just throw me under the bus. You ran me over, then backed up to hit me again. But I do want anybody listening, watching the show, or who will listen to it later, like, please go to Zoop and back Matt's campaign. It is a beautiful comic. It is cerebral and wonderful and chaotic in all the best ways. And I love Kickstarter. I love backing on Kickstarter, but there are some opinions floating around right now. And if you're one of those opinionated people, like, try an alternate crowdfunding source. Zoop is run by good people. They have my credit card info. I'm not scared. Like, go there, back Thoughtscape, give it a try. It's beautiful. The digital editions are affordable, but they are he's very good at whoever he has print them. Like the physical copies are something you want. If you love sci-fi, if you love good comics, Matt's good dude. Go to Zoop, check it out. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
My theory on it is we need as many strong, fertilized crowdfunding sites that will give indie comics a home. I'm not running away from Kickstarter, but I would rather there be a strong Kickstarter and a strong Zoop than a strong Kickstarter and no Zoop.
And Zoop's just fun to say. Like, it's just fun. It's a fun word.
Zoop.
Gerald, I got a quick question for you.
Yep.
One of the things I think that's helped me personally is engaging with an editor, having another set of eyeballs on the work, as it's being made. With this anthology, you're probably the first time that these creators have interfaced with an editor. So how has that kind of been on, from your point of view?
Shouldn't we be asking Ignacio and Chris?
Well, so I think that's a good idea to ask Ignacio and Chris, actually. I'll say where I started from in this, which is I come out of a big push to try and do prose publishing. I wanted to write sci-fi novel, and so I did a lot of time and effort figuring out the literary agent world and figuring out the publishing world there, and the immense times we also see in comics. And all of that put together, I said to myself when I wanted to do this, my goal was get back to everyone. And because I am trying to establish myself as a comic editor, I've done editing for Chris, but it's been story editing. It hasn't been project managing. Mm-hmm. So I set goal to respond to everyone as they came in. And if I'm saying no, give them any sort of feedback why. I didn't want to send anyone away with just a blanket no. That took an emotional toll on me. It is much harder to tell someone no and here's why. And we had just over 50 submissions, and there's 4, like Ignacio and I are 1, so there were only 4 spots in the first book, and I had already been planning things with Chris, so I was only really looking to fill 3, and I still ended up promising 4 more spots for a second issue. But that's still me saying no, and here's why to 42 projects. So moving on from there, it became a lot happier of a process, and I was much more happy to be engaged and working with people. And Chris and Ignacio can tell me how I did so far from that side, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you've been doing really well, man. We've been working together for, like I said, about a year and a half. He's basically read everything that I've written. I mean, I think you got a few scripts in the backlog right now, Jared. I'm going to put you on the spot right now. You got about like 3 or 4 scripts. But
Chris, we had Gerald in for a 14-hour pre-show prep, so
yeah,
that's on us.
Okay. I mean, there's all right. I'll take the excuse. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not salty at all. You know, I didn't just write some of the best stuff ever that are just waiting in your inbox. Like, what are you doing? But yeah, it's always been great. He's always given really good feedback. I think I've gravitated towards Jared because he always gives me like straight, like, you know, he doesn't ever sugarcoat his responses to me or his criticism or his notes. Like, it's always like if something sucks, he's like, dude, this sucks. Like, and he'll always, and this translates to everything on Twitter. If I'm in like a sad boy era, he'll call my shit out and be like, dude, this isn't fucking H&M, dude. Like, go, like, this isn't a Hot Topic. Like, go do something with your life. And I respect that. So I know that whatever feedback I'm getting from him is genuine, and he's not gonna pull his punches. And I think that's a very crucial thing to have with an editor. And yeah, I've worked with other editors since then, but yeah, he's still my favorite bud. So
Pat, you run multiple series, volumes. I'm going to guess you have an editor, but I don't know that for sure. But you would probably be considered the project manager of your books. How is that for you, and what's the hardest, and what do you need to work on the most, and what comes naturally?
I do run an editorial for Space Between. I work with Shannon Lee, who is the editor-in-chief, and we actually just brought on a guy named Jeff Massey. He was my college professor, and back when I was a staff writer at Zenoscope, I got him a job writing their Oz book, and he was great with story, so I brought him on as story editor. So for story, what we do is generally, in the past, I would just write myself, and we would go over the dialogue in the lettering phase and change things here and there and make sure that everything was working, and see if we had to hire the artist to just do some more pages or not. But now we do a story summit where we go on Zoom, or hopefully soon in person, and we meet and talk about an outline and how it's going to make that book, specifically in Destiny New York, work, and how it's going to feed into the whole universe that we do. And with the art, that's probably the harder thing, because we have so many books in production at once that we have to, make sure that we have time and get back to the artist as quickly as possible. So what we do is we have a Facebook chat where we will discuss the notes, the reactions to the artwork, and then I'll take all of our notes and I'll soften, everything into the most concise and nicest possible way. Because you want to get to the heart of the note, but not in a way that is going to be a hurtful way, but a helpful way. Because sometimes a piece of art just won't work. And when you have an established universe that has had multiple people drawing multiple characters for years, there are instances where a piece of art is so far off. So you have to be able to look at it and examine how you can say in a constructive way things that would lead the artist down a way that they could make this happen in a way that will be acceptable for the book.
And yet in their own style.
Yes. And that's very difficult. And it depends on the artist too. You have to figure out each working relationship with each artist. And if there is going to be one, like I've had artists test on my series before, and the characters come back looking nothing like their character design, and they'll say that's my style, when really it's just like that character doesn't have black hair though. That's why, that isn't the same character, But yeah, it's a mix of trying to find, even finding artists who could fit a title, and testing them and doing it in a way where you only test an artist if you truly believe that they could be the one. Otherwise, you're just wasting their time, And yeah, no, the search for the artist for me is the hardest part, because I publish the lowest amount of pages normally is about 60, so short of our short stories like the Thirsty Line. What we're hiring on is what's going to essentially amount to a long-term relationship, over the course of a year or more. Like with the current Destiny New York artist, Matteo Leone, he went from Cherry Gilbert 2 years ago to Destiny New York 5 last year into this year, and he's going to move right on to 6. So that's going to be a 3.5-year relationship, and so you have to really be able to handle both the day-to-day and also the long-term planning on multiple books during kind of always, it's always looking toward enriching the line permanently while kind of like saving the day every day,
Pat, I got a question about Destiny. So I know you're here promoting your new Kickstarter, but you're also the new volume 1 of Destiny New York is also, it's about to come out, or it already did come out. The re-release. Are they going to keep? I mean, what, I don't know if you can talk about it or not, but like, are they going to keep putting those out, or are they kind of like waiting to see the numbers on it? Because like there's a lot more Destiny to re-release, right?
Yeah.
If they keep printing them.
Yeah, they're going to keep doing it for sure. The thing with 1 was it was supposed to come out in September, but the paper shortages and the port things have been a huge problem. So what we did was I actually I met with Black Mask at my storage unit, and I gave them some of mine, and they put a sticker on the back of mine and put that in comic shops. So that came out as like a soft release, and now the main Black Mask volume is coming out hopefully next month. And while we're doing that, I'm already proofing volume 2, which is going to be going to print kind of nowish, so that's happening then. And we're going to for sure keep doing them. One change that I will say that, I'm not sure if I can, but since it's, I do kind of run the title. So we have a pretty casual relationship as far as like when I say things. The ongoing single issues are going to be renumbered. So we're going to end with issue, I think 14, and we're going to start doing number 1s for each arc, because as much as I do love legacy numbering, the ongoing thing is rough, and a number 1 just gives you an undeniable boost to retailers. So we're going to start doing that, but the actual trades will remain the exact same, with the only real change being a different cover. With the volume 1 cover has the Eliza Ramboli, and volume 2 is going to have the Jane St. Ange wraparound.
Cool. What about the spin-offs? Are they going to do those too?
Yeah. We're actually just on the phone today booking covers for Gangster Esperista.
Nice. That's so cool, man. I'm happy for you.
Thank you very much.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. That's going to be sometime this year. I can't say. Yeah. Cats,
I was going to say,
I thought it was an editor from Black Mask.
Was already there.
Yeah. One thing that I will say too is that we're going to start trying out with 1 first. We're going to do a single issue first spin-offs as well, where we have a book coming up that hasn't been on Kickstarter yet, and it's going to go to Black Mask first. And then after that comes out, I'll do a special edition through Kickstarter. That's a trade with a different cover and some like shorts or something, So that'll be a brand new thing that Kickstarter hasn't seen yet, too.
So I have a little bit of trouble juggling the Diamond release, previews release, and the Kickstarters. What do you do to keep yourself sane? Working on Destiny New York Volume 6 and having Volume 1 coming out in comic shops.
So wait, are we assuming Pat is sane, right?
Yeah, right. That would be a wild assumption. Yeah. What do? I think that I try to, I compartmentalize. I will do, because the work that I do pretty much on the single issues is deciding what the cover is going to be. And, the hardest part sometimes is the reality that, I wrote as a graphic novel first. So sometimes Matt will call me, Matt from Black Mass will be like, hey, guess what, Pat? Volume 2, Chapter 5 is 36 pages long. What's up with that? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I didn't know about you guys,
Yeah.
so
And that's where a breakpoint is. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I did was, in that kind of situation, I will break at a point that makes sense earlier in the issue, and if the next issue has room, pop that on there and just figure out how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much I will dedicate a space of time to handling stuff on the single issues. Like, you'll notice if you read the single issues and see the back matter that my author's note, you'll see a few of them written in one day, no matter what issue it is. Like, say 9, 10, and 11 will all be written in the same day, and it'll have that date down there because I'll just bang those out, get ahead for the designer, tell them what pages go where, and go there, and then get back to the work on the ongoing stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I managed 2 Kickstarters last year, and I think you probably did about 100. Is that right?
Last year was my softest year because of the port issue. I like to make sure that I have 5 in some level of production or delivery. So my philosophy is that, all right, Vampire Emmy arrives. As soon as I get it and start shipping, that's when Prison Witch 3 will launch. And I was planning on November for Prison Witch 3. But that didn't happen, so I had to cancel 2 that I was going to do last year, kind of mush them into this year. But yeah, no, I do a lot, and I'm going to try to do more this year to make up for last year.
Wow. It's
Godspeed, my friend.
Yes,
Godspeed.
Godspeed, and it's damned impressive.
So are we
This
still
very
running with
slow-ass rider.
with the sanity narrative?
Yeah.
I do know why he was not intimidated by the late nights. If you never sleep, who cares how long this show goes?
Yeah, I mean, I do like it. I think that probably some of you will relate in that, it feels good to run it. It feels good to deliver it. Every part of the process is rewarding to me in some way. And the day where suddenly somehow these make enough money that I could have someone deliver for me, because I wouldn't want a company to do it. I would want someone who's working for me in a fair way to do it in a way that I would want it done, when that day comes, I would have to pry it from my own hands because I like to do it, and it's a break from writing. The writing is really fun and cool, and it fulfills me, but doing fulfilling work is also very tiring. It's a lot less tiring to just pack a book like 25 times in a night and put it in a box. Like that is almost like I'll just put on a podcast and chill, and my hands would be moving, but my brain isn't here,
So
That's
Gerald,
like bagging and boarding.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
Gerald, what thought have you put into the fulfillment?
I did a lot of research on shipping and figuring out shipping costs and all that. I'm based in Canada, which makes it a little different. Most people who are ordering these things are usually going to be in the US. So like friends and family, I can drive it to them. So that's not a big deal, but shipping out of Canada is weird. And I live, well, right now I'm literally 5 minutes from the border, but the border has to be open for me to be able to get across or not. And who knows if they'll let me cross with 50 comic books packed up in envelopes, or they'll want to open all of those comic books packed up in envelopes.
Just put a bunch of prescription drugs over them. They won't get down to the comics.
Wait, did everybody else get the thought of doing another heist? Having Ignacio draw another heist with getting him across the border? Is that just me?
So right now, I'll make it even better for you. Well, I am upriver from Niagara Falls. Right? So all I need is a boat, and I can get there.
Good, it draws itself.
Yeah.
400 comics in a barrel. Go.
Yeah, just throw.
So yeah, I've got my pricing out for all of the packaging materials I need, all that kind of stuff. It's just that, am I going to need 50, or am I going to need 150 of those, or am I going to need 300 of those, kind of thing? And I'm in that zone where I'm not sure what I don't know right now, because like it's the first one I'm fulfilling.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how many questions I ask, there's always going to be another thing that I'm going to have to troubleshoot, whether that's my local post office, or that's getting it across the border, or that's, oh, this person in Southeast Asia has ordered it, and how do I get it there, kind of thing.
My biggest piece of advice
Digital
is
scale.
don't let stretch goals. Don't get so excited about stretch goals that you ruin your campaign or make it more expensive to deliver. My first campaign, I was so worried about stretch goals that I immediately created a free print that we were going to send. And so I called up the printer and asked if they could do a print. And they said, yeah, what size? And I said, well, like a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11. Well, my comic book was like 9 by 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
And every envelope I had bought was going to fit that 9 by 6. And now I had to buy 200 more envelopes this big. I added just because I didn't think and didn't know. So, digital stretch goals are wonderful. So if you can stay in that digital space for your first campaign, always do when you can.
I've said this in front of Pat before. I think I said it twice when we were talking with Travis Gibb. I've pulled a lot of information off of this show. In particular, the episode you did with Pat and Travis.
We're so very sorry.
No, it's those
I still guess. Like, that's what I do.
I learn best hearing people who know what they're talking about it, and I pull that information out. I'm pretty sure I've heard you tell that story before, and I have dedicated. We only have one stretch goal that will add anything physical, and that's another set of stickers. Everything else I've designed to stay digital, whether it's upgrades or we've had some friends of the campaign give books to kind of add on for all our backers as digital assets. We're staying as digital. If I could convince enough people to just buy digital, I would be happy to not fulfill physical. But that's not where the money is. That's not how we're going to get funding. So yeah, I appreciate the conversations you guys have had that I've been able to listen in on. When it's not like, I love hearing about the campaigns and learning new IPs and losing money out of my wallet. But it's these conversations that we're having that's on the creator stuff that I've really appreciated as a creator. So I've said thank you to Pat a couple times now. Will and Kevin, thank you very much for hosting this kind of a talk.
Well, you're going to have to pass that on to Tyler James, because the two things that I learned from him were that digital scale I have there and the thermal printer. Those things are so awesome and have, help me do a process so that I've got a process now, and that's down to Tyler, because he's done this so many times.
Also, this is a greedy thing for us as well, is our career doesn't exist without Kickstarter/crowdfunding. So if we can put out, this is what I screwed up so you don't, your backers are going to be happier with crowdfunding in general and more likely to come back to a campaign. And it might be mine, it might be Will's, it might be Pat's. So if it's any one of the three of us, then us being here has paid off for us. So it's kind of a greedy thing as well, because we're trying to make the Kickstarter community, the crowdfunding community, a more prosperous, successful place, because there's going to be an echo of that to our careers as well.
Well, I mean, there is no true altruism, right? Like we all do, even when we're selfless, we're selfish. But the two of you gentlemen, like you do so much for the community.
Well, we got a friendship award. So.
Yeah, a
right,
friendship,
yeah.
a Blake's Buzz Friendship and Excellence Award, the first one ever. But I mean, I love this show. Like it's fun to watch. Yes, it costs me money. It's going to cost me tonight because I'm gonna get Prison Witch. I'm back in those. I got to get those 3 volumes, right? And I really I can't believe no one mentioned it tonight. The Fellhound Cat Lady print, like. Yeah. When you get Fellhound to do like a stretch goal on your project, I feel like it's printing money and it's kind of cheating, but I mean, like, go for it. But
they're great.
The two of you guys,
wonderful.
like in your show and your platform, and just how knowledgeable you are and friendly and funny. Like you do a lot for Kickstarter and crowdfunding, and we appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much. We take way more credit than we deserve, and we're not going to stop. There is the Fellhound Cat Lady. Wow, that is gorgeous. But it's Fellhound, so that's not surprising in the slightest.
Also, please, if you're going to send out physical rewards, put it in a bag and a board, and don't just throw it in a bubble mailer because
that never ends well.
It just doesn't.
It rarely does, and you have plausible deniability if it's in a bag and a board and it comes bent.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be upset, but if it's free and it gets bent, I might be more shifty-eyed.
Also, a note on shipping. Breakneck crew, like I didn't pay attention, but being that you're shipping from Canada, like you're very friendly in your shipping price. Like as opposed, like there are a lot of great Canadian kickstarting comics that I would love to back and get cool editions of, and I often have to get digital because it gets expensive. So thank you for being fair.
Yeah, I did a lot of research, and I wanted to find the method that would be obviously, and we're not sending out a lot of physical stuff. The most we'll send out right now is 4 comics of every one of our covers, and then a postcard and some stickers and bookmarks. So that the weight, we're right on the edge, but it's letter mail, and the Gemini mailer gets just small enough to fit into the letter mail package. And so like I got some great prices from Canada Post that when I compared it to like the US Postal Service, I was like, unless I'm sending to like Buffalo, it's cheaper to do it from Canada than Buffalo.
Damn.
Oh wow.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I don't know how it works that way, but it does. So until, of course, I go to actually do it and they say, oh, we updated that last week.
The paper shortage can boost you into a higher cost without ever knowing that was going to happen.
It's true.
Yeah. It's rough. Pat, do you have a piece of advice for somebody who might be fulfilling for the first time?
I do. I have started to do my art prints as a little postcard size. I've noticed that not only being a good size to just tuck into the book, these are very sturdy. I recently collected all of the extra merch to make a little area of it so I could put it up on Etsy. And I noticed that even storing my regular prints in a pretty decent way, the paper can curve. If you touch one the wrong way, it'll bend in a certain way. I have these that have been just sticking around, and they are great. They print very clear, very glossy front. I put an ad for other Kickstarters on the back. I think that size, which you can do through Vistaprint at a great quantity, very, very cheap. That's one of my favorite personal discoveries that I've done. Because I used to go through Cat Print, and I like Cat Print, but they'll also, sometimes resize what you do. And I think that sometimes the more simple way to go is the better way,
You said Cat Print and the cat came up. It's like the siren song.
Yeah, he's I've done a lot of live streams recently, and he is getting more and more active during them.
More comfortable.
Yeah.
Pets are always appreciated on this stream.
Good.
One thing that I've noticed is, like I said, my first campaign I sent out a huge print because I was not thinking, and then I've kind of shrunk it down and gotten kind of in that 5x7 range, which is near postcard.
Well, they say it's not the size that matters; it's the paperweight.
It's
the only time they're going to let me on this show.
As long as you pick glossy, you're all right with me.
I actually like those smaller postcard prints, though. Or I like the trading card, the bonus trading cards too.
Oh yeah, I'm doing that as well.
But I use them for bookmarks. Like I read multiple books simultaneously, and I always need those bookmarks. Like, so cool. I appreciate those. But yeah, you're doing a card game, a Destiny card game.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing something that, because I I collect Pokemon cards, and I don't play the game because it feels very complicated to me because I'm an idiot, So I wanted to do a game that was a bit more role playing, where it's kind of a narrative game where when we eventually have enough cards for it to be a thing, that you can essentially build your own Destiny New York fanfic with the card game, and you can do it either solo or with a team. And yeah, we're going to be doing a card with every campaign, at least one card for free. And eventually I'll do a full Kickstarter for more of an expansion after we figure it out and stuff. But yeah, it's a thing I've wanted to do just because I'm such a fan of card games. I spend quite a lot of my personal funds on those. So yeah.
You're like TikTok famous for Pokemon cards, right? Or like kind of.
I'm always surprised when people know. Yeah,
I only know because I listened to you last week.
I have more followers on any of my social media platforms where I talk about writing. On TikTok, where I open Pokemon cards. Yeah.
That sounds to me like the artists on Twitter that laments putting their own art and getting 3 likes and then sharing a meme and getting 900 retweets.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it is very much that, and I totally get it too, because I'm writing comics is my art, but when I look to do something for fun, I'm gonna watch someone open Pokemon cards.
Do you think your TikTok audience helped your new Kickstarter campaign? Did you do any videos about Prison Witch?
I did one. It was blocked, kind of, and not blocked, but TikTok does
shadow banned.
Not really. They do that, but TikTok does these weird waves where they'll put out a video to a certain number of people in a pulse, and then if it does well, they'll do a second pulse. And if that does well, they'll blast it out. They function in a very different way than most platforms. So the more creative stuff doesn't really work that much on TikTok. What does is drama. If you're arguing with someone, that does very well because it maintains engagement. I don't want to do it personally, but yeah.
You gotta WWE it. Find yourself another creator on TikTok and have a beef when you guys both have a campaign running.
Yeah, I tried to do that with Blake today, and he just got right you're awesome. I was trying to build a narrative for Pat to enjoy. I know he likes the beef.
I do like the beef. Yeah. Yeah, my biggest TikTok ever was, I thought, going to be only viewed by the guy who I was talking to. It was like a quick clapback video on a negative comment. And then I woke up the next day and it was, thousands and thousands of views. I was like, oh shit. That's how you do it, I guess.
Yeah, I do not understand the algorithm stuff. So the idea of making short comic videos is interesting, and there's a few guys on TikTok that do it, and they get a lot of likes and views and stuff. And I'm always thinking ways I can bring people to Blake's Buzz, the podcast, right? And so it's intriguing, but editing videos is No, I don't ever want to do that. It's so terrible. I feel so dumb because there's like a 7-year-old that's like making little TikTok movies that are like engaging and beautiful and full of like special effects. And my one TikTok video is me melting a chocolate bar in an espresso pour.
That's good. No, that's good content. That's cool.
But it was so hard.
Yeah.
And I didn't even do anything. I just mounted my cell phone and recorded it and then paused it and then
You mounted what, Blake? Come on.
sorry. But I mean, yeah, so the idea is really cool. But yeah, editing video, I would love to do more YouTube stuff, but it's like videos, and that's me. I'm just like this old man who's like, I'm scared of technology now.
Get off my lawn.
I feel like you have
Yeah,
good
I'm
content
there
for it
too.
though.
I'm getting there too.
I feel like your cooking videos would do really well if you were to like make short ones. on
Everybody
TikTok.
tells me that. I need to get the one time I tried to film something cooking, I almost dropped my cell phone in a pot. Now I was probably not the sober.
But if you had
either.
a second cell phone videotaping that and the phone melted,
There you go.
There you
Perfect.
go.
But you have
That's
to have
content.
like a camera person, and I
Yeah.
can't. All my friends are like, Blake, you should do this, and I'm like, hey, you want to help me? And they're like, no, I got like kids and shit. I can't. I mean, you should do it. You're the cooking person.
Yeah, you could have another entry in the Cooking with Rao that Fellhound. We talked about her earlier.
She told me because I love that video and it was so funny, and she was like, it took us all day. Like she was like,
I listened to that one. She gave her girlfriend the credit as like the creative, the writer of those. Fellhound is just like a breath of fresh air in the comic community. Extremely talented, super nice, really positive. Really, it's fun to see the success that Fellhound is having because it's a great person. And
about to see it again next week too.
Indeed.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be sending out a message saying, "Hey, you want to hang out on a Friday night?" And
You
we'll
should.
see.
Phil, if you're listening, they're good dudes. She was a super fun interview, and I felt bad because she was like, "Is this like video?" And I was like, "Well, it's video, but like I don't upload the video. I like to record with video because I can tell if like I'm boring or not. Like I'm like, oh, you're obvious. Like I can tell when people aren't interested. I need to up my game, which luckily hasn't happened yet." But she was like, oh, I guess I'll get out of my pajamas. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you do that. Yeah, like super, super blessed. So incredibly humble, but talented and real funny. Like you guys should definitely get her on the show. Like she's a good talk.
Yeah, I think about 9 o'clock, I turned to my wife. I said, I better put shorts on in case I stand out. I don't want to Jeffrey Tubin the poor Facebook audience. Well,
I want to talk about humble and talented for a second. Chris completely didn't pipe up about his card game that he's also making. So I want to call him out.
Called out. Yeah, I have a card game coming out. It's called Red Sea Legends, and it's going to be starting off with our first set, which is all characters from my sci-fi comic, The Saturn Effect. And yeah, get ready, Blake. They're all going to be
awesome.
Holographic too, so it's going to be nice, nice collectible card game. Nice. And I wanted them also to be. I'm a huge fan of card games. Also, I used to play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh. I played too much Hearthstone. I played just like too much Runeterra. So I wanted to also have the card game to be something that people could actually play. And I wanted it to also be like relatively accessible so that you didn't need to have like too many cards. Sort of on the opposite of you, Pat. So maybe we're beefing. Maybe this is the card game beef coming in right now.
Yeah, I'm starting to get pissed, dude.
Take this to TikTok, guys. Take this to TikTok.
Right.
But for the con.
Yeah, exactly. So it's something accessible, something where you'd only need to have 3 cards and the other person only need to have like something like 3 cards, and probably sell them in. We're going to be selling them in sets of 18, and for the first edition set 1 Kickstarter stuff will be in our next campaign, which I'll be having a link going up very soon after we get all of my latest campaigns, the Saturn Effect Alpha 1 through 3 and the Saturn Effect Helena fulfilled this month and next month. and then we'll be on to the end of Volume 1 with the Siren Effect Siren Effect Alpha 4, and we will have the card game alongside that with as some add-ons and the like. So, yeah, I mean, card games are fun stuff. I think it's a really cool add-on to like have people connect more to characters also, because we can have all these. If you're a creator with a lot of characters, it might be hard for everyone to know like how deep some of these characters can be. So like having a card that or any sort of multimedia that has this character separate from their actual story that they're in, sort of like allows people to get a little bit closer to them, develop a little bit more of a bond, understand who that character is some more. I know I would play test this card game with friends and people that, you know, had read the books that I've written, but may not have connected to the characters as hard as when after they played the card game and Alpha kills Centauri or something, and you're like, oh my god, that's like, now I know it's just a card game. It's just a card game. Don't worry. Wait, you already know what happens in the story. You've read the whole thing. You've edited it. What are you talking about?
So I can wrap my mind around how you start a story. How do you start a card game? Like what is the quote unquote outline of a card game?
I think well, for me, I just wanted to have something that was complex enough that you can play it hopefully a lot, but nothing too complicated that you couldn't just tell your friend if you had a set of the cards and or somebody walked over and saw the back of them, was like, oh, that's really cool. So I was thinking of games that, how they kept the mechanics sort of simple. We kept numbers low, so that you can sort of do the math easily in your head. And sort of, I sort of think of it as like rock, paper, scissors multiplied like to the power of like 3. So it's just like so many different permutations due to having multiple choices with a card. And so like hopefully having complexity come from from players having a lot of agency with what they could actually do with that card and in those options that you have with each. So it was really just like playing around with it and saying like, what the hell would I want to do with my card games? Like, I like cool shit in my card games. I don't know if anyone else is a card game player, but like I like combos. I like big cards. I like cool stuff that makes the other player go like, okay, I hate this game. But I also like hate being the player that's like, okay, I hate this game. So like I wanted to cure a lot of problems that I've had and also curate to some of the there you go. I know Jared is a huge Magic fan. I know he does a lot.
I'm surrounded by Magic cards right now.
Right. So but I wanted something that was fun and accessible, but also had some complexity and solved some of my personal gripes while also hitting some of my own personal wants in card games.
What about the rules?
Chris,
like, did you make all the rules, or did you have people helping you design? Because there are no rules. Wild to me, like just inventing a game, and because it's not just the story of the game or even the cards and the character. Like, you have to make rules, right? And that's like, was that like exhausting, or did you like nerd out and get into it?
I think that's part of the fun, right? I think it's always helpful if you can find somebody that's like down to just like play your game with you. Then you can really like get through all the rules, because you'll as a creator of the game and maybe Pat, you can jump in. But like you sort of have an idea of like how you want the game to go. You're like, okay, this is sort of how it feels. This is how I want the back and forth to feel like. And playing with another person, they're not going to understand what's going on up here. So like being able to explain it to them, and then when you need to clarify something, it's like, oh, okay, well that's a rule that needs to go down here. So it's like a process. It's not something where like you'll start off with some basic rules, but it's something that you need to play test through and go through multiple iterations of to really get to the point where it's like, okay, now I can take this set of rules with these cards to somebody that's never played this game. They can read it and get a general idea of like how they're supposed to do it. So I think I think it's easier than you would think to actually get one of these games down, because we all have these games that we're pulling from in our cultural, memory bank.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of like the scary part where you like accidentally fuck up, where you like you think it's good and you're like playing, and then you're like, oh no, the game's broken. And then you're like, oh, I have to,
Right.
and you know, like when that
Right.
happens, like it's not just like, oh, we need to fix this one part. It's like, oh, we need to fix this one part, but oh wait, that affects these 3 cards. Oh wait, if we change these
Right.
3 cards, that changes these 3 cards. Oh wait, now you know, like that's what sounds
Right.
absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
breaking.
part of the playtest.
Exactly.
This makes it sound easy, but it's not easy. But once you have the machine rolling and you have people to bounce ideas off of, and you have play testers, then it becomes a well-oiled machine. Even more if people are in tune with what you are aiming to do. But you always need people to try to break your game, because that's when you realize how easy it is to break your game.
Oh.
It happens to me when dealing with tabletop role-playing game systems. When you're developing something or you're trying to test, you search for the cracks. Where does this break? Because the people developing it, either a card game, either a tabletop RPG, you need it. It's like a plot hole in a story. Basically, it's the same idea. You need to test it. You need an editor. You need someone to break the story, someone to break the system.
Definitely. I also think it's impossible to have a completely unbroken game. Like it's you can even argue that chess is kind of broken, right? So like, because like white is supposed to win or something, has the advantage. So I mean, like you're never going to be able to just make something that is completely like, when it gets to, if you know, and this is like obviously best case scenario, if a lot of people play it, you're never going to be able to stop that one crazy person that's like just has that right brain for whatever thing that you made to completely blow it open and break it. So I try my hardest to, and when you're play testing, you try your hardest. But like if somebody like a chess grandmaster decided to pick up this game and was like, oh wait, I just broke your entire game. Well, I mean, well, okay, that's, I mean, thanks, man. But I think that's okay. And that's okay. And it's like, well, we can fix that afterwards. But like, at least it got to this random chess grandmaster, and they put enough time into it to break it, and we can make changes from there. But as long as it's fun, like the main thing is always fun, I think, with a card
Fun
game.
and collectible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I like
Make
the thought of
me spend more money.
I like the
Yeah.
thought of Gary Kasparov just sitting watching Kickstarter to ruin people's games. Like, I'm gonna take that motherfucker down.
So
What about oh, sorry, Will.
you guys have mentioned card games. You mentioned Magic. Pat, you've mentioned Pokemon. You know, what are some of the other games that card games that you guys have played or loved?
I love the Buffy the Vampire Slayer card game. I love Dragon Ball Super, but those two I just collect. I don't play. My brain doesn't really work that way. So in the making of mine, I'm more reverse engineered the story elements, because I wanted to create a game where someone could build a narrative either solo or with other people. So I really broke down the the magic in my story to do it that way, because dude, Chris, I could never do what you just described. I'm in awe of that. That's awesome. Yeah.
I told you, humble and
That's
So
it.
Pat,
And
would
Pat-
yours have combat in it?
It could, yeah. That would be one of the magic cards. There's we have character cards, magic cards, location cards, and action cards. And there is a way to marry the magic and the action cards to do something, that
Merry Magic Kill, is that the game?
Ooh.
Yeah, there's different directions that you could take the story. Like you could make it into a romance story, or you can make it into a battle story. Yeah.
Because I just heard about that kind of like tabletop RPG. They're like it's not, there's no combat at all. It's just all story driven, and like evolving your character like in a non-violent way.
Yeah.
I guess you can utilize emotional violence, which is kind of interesting.
Exactly, yeah.
But I didn't know.
Exactly.
Like I'm learning. Like I don't know tons about tabletop games. And so like I learned that recently, and it that was really intriguing.
That is cool.
I was just about to ask Pat if he ever considered making a tabletop RPG system for the Destiny world or
Yeah.
his Magic world.
Yeah, this card game would be about as close as I would get to that, because it kind of it marries a bit of the RPG idea with the trading card idea, and really what it is, it's an excuse for me to build a binder of my own characters.
Nice.
Same.
And then
That's
sell a
what a lot
custom
of
binder on
Kickstarters.
Kickstarter.
Exactly, man. Yeah.
A lot of Kickstarter rewards are what would be cool for me to have. All
Oh
right.
yeah.
How much would it cost,
course.
and how can we raise enough money to make it exist?
Are you seeing the resurgence of Pogs right now? Like, there's a handful of Kickstarters that have fucking Pogs, and I'm like, I am so excited about it, but no one has put out a slammer yet. So there's all these like random Pog sets you can get, but no one has a slammer. So if one of you guys launches a new Kickstarter and has a slammer, I think they'll just back it. You could just release like
do
a
we need a
blank-page
breakneck
journal.
slammer?
Oh, you could. It fit.
I'm not prepared for that. Maybe next time.
Just throw it in there. It's fine.
I always throw out the worst stretch goals.
So
You asked
Shawnee,
me when we were doing Killaroo, they asked me, what could we do for a stretch goal? Oh, a Killaroo mini 3D printed. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, because that's what I would want.
Yeah.
So if you ask me, I'm gonna throw it out, but it's not a good cost-wise. It's not viable.
Yeah, you have to figure out what can be afforded affordably and shipped affordably, and that all comes together. Shawnee says that she loves the concept and typically the art of various card games. However, she doesn't actually play, as that would require her to be out and be social, trying to meet like-minded people. Nope, I'm going to stay in my cave and watch my live streams. Well, we thank you for that, Shawnee.
Yeah.
I mean, I can ruin your life from there. Magic the Gathering Arena, Hearthstone, Runeterra. Like, you can shell out real money for digital assets constantly.
I just love what you just said. Like, I can ruin your life from there.
Yeah. Okay. Like, I work at an international. I work at an international high school. I love Magic. I was like, oh, let me introduce Magic to my students. I'm bringing 4 of them to the new Magic pre-release tomorrow so that they can spend a bunch of their money to buy new Magic. I'm the cardboard crack dealer at the school.
That's your T-shirt.
That's good.
Yeah. All right.
Here's one from
that
the,
pack. Smell that fresh card smell.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Let's go around the horn. It's been a couple hours. Maybe some people are coming in, watching, listening. I mean, if it's a podcast, they've been here the whole time. But let's do one more quick 30-second talk on each project. John is not here, so I will say Drumsticks of Doom was a one-shot in the rock and roll world, as it's if Black Sabbath became the greatest rock band instead of the Beatles, and all the repercussions that actually brought to the world, including, we don't know why, but werewolves.
Gotta have
So, Pat, why don't you bring us home on Prison Witch?
Yes, Prison Witch is a graphic novel series co-written by myself and my wife, Amy. It is Orange is the New Black meets The Craft. It is on Kickstarter right now at tinyurl.com/prisonwitch. It's the final volume and the 3rd volume, closing out the trilogy. You can get the entire series right now, or if you're all caught up, you can get volume 3.
Nice. Chris, let's have your 30-second pitch for your story in Breakneck.
Okay, awesome. Well, I have an awesome short in Breakneck Fantasy Anthology filled with fantasy and black and white goodness. And my story is When I Freeze Hell Over, where we follow an ice witch named Sickly as she travels down the path of hell to become the new devil. So I created it with Marco Del Forno, and it's one of 5 awesome shorts in the anthology.
Yeah, very excited for this.
I need a moment.
Oh, you got it?
Did you say sickly?
Yeah, I really thought it was sickle. I really
Sickle?
did. Like
Ice-
icicle.
I thought it was. I edited this book and I thought it was sickle.
You know what? It's whatever you want it to be. Okay. That
like
makes you
Cthulhu.
happy. Yeah, exactly. This is
gotta
reader response
readjust
theory. Okay.
some thinking here.
Listen. I have a book called Morte that I've heard called Mort and Morty. You know what? If you're reading it as or backing it, you can call it whatever you want. That's fine.
True.
I'll. Pat doesn't mind if I say Destiny, New York. It's fine.
A little bit.
I backed it. It's fine. Well, thank you very much, guys. Will and I are going to go through the campaigns that are still live before we break down. And you guys brought me to 12:45 before I even thought about this. So thank you very much for making our evening a blast. And
Lots of great discussion.
I made it almost 2 hours without wine. I think that's a positive set. We got a comment there I'll look at real quick, though. Oh, Shawnee, it's always great to have you on with us. She says it's great to see familiar faces and get to meet some new ones. A blast. You guys tuning in and commenting. You guys make it more fun for us every week. So thank you. So what do we got here, Will? We got Cat Dad and Super Mom. This is Rob Anderson's kids book, all ages, about a kid who runs into some issues at school. Comes home and with his mom and dad, they talk about it, and then he dreams about the problems that he's going through and kind of learns lessons about bullying. I'm trying to find it. It's down.
And that actors aren't always the characters that they portray.
Yeah. The second issue is about an actor being a shithead at a comic convention. We couldn't get a name on which actor that might be, but we're all going to guess. But just a cute story.
It could be multiple ones.
Yeah. It could be, but then some of them are just the nicest people you could ever meet too. It's some people are great and some people are shitheads, and that no matter what job it is. We have the Granite State Punk, Travis Gibb. He came up earlier tonight. That is his one shot about the man in the mountain and a guy getting out of jail, coming home, and witches and covens and
faces,
punk rock. And Travis says it's the best book he's ever written, and he's written a lot of books. So we're going to have to trust him on that. I backed it, so obviously I did.
I love how excited he is for it. Like he's when he gets online talking about it, like he gets other people excited. I don't know. It sounds real cool. And he just capped or went over 300 backers too, which was
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can tell it's a very important and personal story for him.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
Phil and Kat. So we've got Haunting, number 1 through 4, by our friend Phil Falco. It's a bratty teenager. Wherever he goes, the dead rise, and he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. The ghosts rise, kill everybody around him, and he's over it. He is so over it. And it's pretty great. He said he wanted he set out to write a despicable protagonist, and he kind of has, but it's a great story, and I'm in on it all the way. And if you say Phil Falco, you have to say Cat Calamia. They run in tandem together. They're
the dynamic duo of Kickstarter.
Yeah, they did the By Visible anthology together. They do Slice of Life together, and they kickstart together. Her book is The Dancer, which is sort of a vigilante tale, Batman and Black Widow-esque, where a young girl's parents are killed, and the rest of her life she spends either dancing or in martial arts, and decides to go out and get revenge. But at the end of issue 1, she has to look point blank at what her actions actually have brought to the world and think about whether or not she is a hero or something else. So it's kind of a psychological deep dive on vigilantism by Kat.
And her character has to deal with the trauma that she's repressed for
12
her
years
whole
or
life.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some guy named Charlie Stickney.
Who's this guy?
I don't know. He's writing The Adept for the Immortal Studios, and The Adept is a book about a young lady who's been dreaming that she's learning martial arts for years. And one day she's at a concert with her estranged little sister, and the guy who's been training her in her dreams shows up on stage, and she realizes that maybe she wasn't dreaming, she really was training. So this is the second issue, and it's it's Charlie Stickney's co-writing it. So you're gonna get our push no matter what. But the first issue was a strong start.
The art by Yishan Li is spectacular.
It's got a variant by Gene Ha that is one of the most beautiful covers I've seen in a long time. I am a recovering variant addict, and I have stopped. I've been really good about not buying like store exclusive variants and variant stuff, and I ponied up for the Gene variant. It's so beautiful.
nice.
It's all valid on Kickstarter.
It's all valid.
Don't worry.
That's right. Yeah, you know
That's
what?
your
You don't
baseline.
have to buy it. That's your choice. We just want to give you lots of choices.
That's right. You want me to take the Toddler Apocalypse?
Is it still running?
I think it is. I thought it funded. I thought it.
Oh wait, it may have. Hang on a second. Let me refresh my page. Nope, I still have it. It goes until February 18th. It looks like. So
Okay. Well, yes.
6 more
Take it
days.
on.
you know what's worse than the apocalypse? Having your kids in an apocalypse, because however bad it is, it's going to be worse having your kids in an apocalypse because they're going to make it worse.
I really recommend anybody with kids 5 and older read this, because you can be brought back to those terrible moments when they ruin your life. And you can look at it and you laugh. And if you don't have kids, I think you should get this to maybe,
Come on, guys.
be more careful in your sexual activities, because maybe you won't do that to yourself. But if you have a 2 or a 3-year-old, I recommend not reading this right now. You're too close.
Oh,
You're too close
late,
to the
man.
trauma.
I already pledged, and I have an 8-month-old baby.
Oh,
Oh gosh, do you read it really quick or do you wait for 5 years? I don't know.
I think I will wait.
You tell me what you did and get back. But the art in this is incredible, and the idea is really funny, and it seems like a really great idea. And we can do one more time. Thoughtscape Comics, that's the anthology about the 5th dimension, where every thought ever created is recorded and can be kind of grabbed and used. And it's just a kind of a mind fuck in the best way possible.
Leader.
I hear volume 2 is really good. I didn't get to read it though.
No, Matt said that everybody he likes gets to read volume 2, so I think a lot of people have read it. He said there was only one dipshit he didn't send it to, but I don't know who that was.
yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, he didn't say who that was.
Yeah.
One very important thing to say about Soup, about Thoughtscape too, it's really easy to sign in, create an account, and back a project. You can do that in 5 minutes.
Yeah, at the most. Yeah, 5 minutes at the most. That's with having to go find your wallet and put the credit card in it. It's a strong thing in creating an account. And you know what? I'm into as many crowdfunding sites that will put good comics out as possible. And you know what? That includes Indiegogo, as long as you don't put a hashtag in front of your comic. We're a big fan of that. If you put a hashtag that might not be as inclusive as we would like our community to be, then that might be a different thing. But that's not Indiegogo specifically. It's just some creators. So let's keep all of these crowdfunding sites fertilized and ready for comics to grow.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you for starting my Valentine's weekend off. You know what? There was one cutest here, but I think you all were decent.
I know who I'm from. Thanks, Bradley.
Okay. Nah, thank you very much. It was a blast.
Thanks
Oh,
for
thank
having
you
us.
for having me on. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Thanks, everyone.